Good evening, everyone. My name is Dana Render, and I'm the Director of Education for Trees Atlanta. And I thank you tonight for joining us with our virtual speaker series about building community through food. So if you're not familiar with Trees Atlanta, our mission is to protect and improve Atlanta's canopy. And we do that through planting, which most people know us for. And we also do that through conservation efforts and education. Tonight we have several speakers. We have Ted Terry, we have Ihsan Saleem, we have Will Johnston, Kim Bucciero, and Jamie Rosenthal, who are all going to share about their deepest passions and how what they're doing intersects with the community and food. We really want this to be an interactive experience for you. We will have a time for question and answer. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, there is a Q&A button. If you could submit your questions there, that will be really great, and we'll get to them at the end of each presentation. If you want to ask questions for a very specific person or organization, make sure you note that in the Q&A. Otherwise, everyone on the panel will have an opportunity to answer your question. We also want to make sure that we can serve you better. So you will be receiving an email that will have a survey. So if you don't mind giving us some feedback on how we can create content that best suits your needs. And if you want to learn more about what we're doing at Trees Atlanta or find any other events that we're doing right now, you can go to our website at treesatlanta.org, and you can sign up for our newsletter there and also learn about any upcoming events, including volunteer opportunities. You can also find us on social at Trees Atlanta through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So now I'm going to kick it back to our panelists, and we are going to start with Ted Terry.
Hey, thank you, Dana, and thank you to everyone who's joining us or watching later on in the recording. Thank you to Trees Atlanta for being such an amazing partner to the whole community of Atlanta. I've lived here for over 15 years, and I encountered Trees Atlanta among the first few months that I moved to just by the North DeKalb Mall over in DeKalb County. I'm here in Clarkston right now. Clarkston in central DeKalb, known as one of the most ethnically diverse square miles in America, and where I served as mayor the last 6.5 years, and recently have won the primary and am the DeKalb County Commissioner-elect for the Super 6 district. Trees Atlanta has been an amazing partner for the city of Clarkston and DeKalb County, expanding the tree canopy, but also I think in recent years, looking beyond just the tree and looking at the whole community and how that incorporates edible landscaping and productive urban landscapes. So what we're going to talk about here tonight. I remember before I came to Atlanta, I went to the University of Florida, and I was I'm a graduate bachelor's degree in food science and human nutrition. And I remember interacting with the school board in Gainesville, Florida, and through the Neighborhood Nutrition Network, similar to Trees Atlanta, but more focused on planting community gardens, mostly with elementary and middle schools. And it was my first opportunity in the space of nutrition and health and well-being to see firsthand sort of how programs that interact with the community, our schools, and in particular our young people can really pay lasting impacts. It's impacted me just as a person and how I choose to eat and grow my own food in my front yard and try to take care of the earth. And it's also led to me running for office. I knew I wanted to run for office when I was 18 years old, but I knew that I had to learn more about policy and the community and ways that we can actually make an impact beyond just the typical politician speak. And so in Clarkston, I'm proud to say that in recent years, we partnered with Trees Atlanta to plant over 400 trees. We've expanded community agriculture opportunities, productive urban landscapes, and really tried to pioneer some ideas where we think about the intersection between food insecurity poverty, affordable housing, and just, addressing this question I think that we all have, and that's, how do we create the world that we wish to live in? How do we create the community that's going to be a place that we're not only we want to call home and we're proud to call home, but that other people, friends, family, neighbors, relatives look at our community and they say, wow, that's the place that I want to live, or I want to steal all of their really great ideas and improve my community. And I think this is the opportunity I think that we have here in Metro Atlanta. 13 plus counties, over 90 municipalities, school boards, housing authorities, transit authorities. There's a lot of intersection in terms of the future that we have, before us here in Atlanta. And I think what we're going to talk about tonight is probably, for me, one of the most exciting things, because I love food. And I love to eat food. I love to cook food. And as in the last few years, I've become more interested in starting to love more growing food. And I think it's something that is an integral part of any community, whether it's, a neighborhood where you just happen to have some food in your front yard, or whether we're talking about apartment complexes, or schools, or, the grassy areas in front of MARTA stations, the public right-of-way that is accessible to every person in the public, and how we can really enhance those attributes, and give people that opportunity to grow their own food, or to build the type of ecology that's not only going to be good for our own personal health, but for our overall environmental health, for our public health. And this is something that, whether you're, a Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative or libertarian, I think that the evidence shows that when you have a healthier community, you have a community that is more prosperous. It means that people and workers are more productive. It means that businesses are more efficient. It means that our tax dollars that we all pay, whether through sales tax or property tax or for the school tax, that is going to the highest and best use. And I think the things that we're talking about tonight are about not just about environmental health and personal health, but it's about economic health. And this is the really exciting thing, I think, for politicians such as myself, who really want to challenge our governments and our institutions to go beyond the rhetoric and try to implement things that are innovative, and that will benefit their whole community. And for the most part, are less about arguing about things in the past, but talking about the possibilities that we have in store for us in the future. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to turn it back over to the panelists, and look forward to sharing about things that we're working on, that we have working on in Clarkston, as well as the opportunities we have for all of DeKalb County and working with the rest of the community of Metro Atlanta. Thank you. Back to you, Dana.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ted. Now we're going to have Ihsan Saleem.
All right. Good evening. So Dana, thank you for having us. Thank you for your work with Trees Atlanta. Ubiquitous organization. It's been really impactful. We've had a great opportunity to interact with you guys as well at the particular community that I'm about to present on, Glenrose Gardens. So just, I guess, a little background on me. I'm actually a real estate entrepreneur. Have been in real estate for all my professional life over the last 16 years. And my business focuses on acquiring communities, and typically communities that are in some sort of distress, and turning them around. And Glenrose is a particular community that I acquired about 3.5 years ago, and was able to do so sort of without external partners, and having that sort of structure created a lot of opportunity to explore some creative ideas in terms of community building. So we can look at a video if you want to click to the next slide that kind of highlights some of the sort of a day in the life at Glenrose. If you'll go to the next slide. So Glenrose is a 20-acre community in South Atlanta, working class minority community. About a third of the units are on, we have a relationship with HUD to provide sort of a rental subsidy. It really is an attempt at kind of answering the question of, what could a positively charged space result in for the people who live there in terms of their lives? Could it sort of disrupt some of the vicious cycles that we see and create some virtuous cycles? So we're really taking a very holistic approach and trying to just wrap around a lot of services and love ultimately with the people of our community, with the very concrete mission of, as a result of people living at Glenrose, that their lives would be better. They would have more health, more wealth, more wisdom, be more connected to their purpose as a result of their life at Glenrose Gardens. So that's really what we're aspiring to. We see agriculture as a critical part of that, certainly on the health vertical. It's been an avenue through which we've created a lot of programming to build relationships amongst community members, also to raise the consciousness around health and healthy eating, and as an exposure tool for everyone, especially kids. So Glenrose here, you see a couple stats. It was built in 1960s. It was actually a member-owned cooperative that, again, fell in some hard times. And we've been able to kind of turn that around. It's 238 homes, probably about 700 people. And we can go to the next slide. Yeah, this is just a few of the amenities. Again, taking that holistic approach, we've created just different spaces to reflect the whole person. So I've added in a gym, a new playground. I've added in a spiritual sort of meditative space, a few different farm and garden areas, an herb garden, kind of a crop garden, and livestock. And again, bring in programming and have social events. One of my favorite is at the bottom right there, Sunday dinner, which is a bit of an institution now, where it's just a potluck dinner. One particular community member will sort of facilitate, but always a great turnout. People bring in dishes and just kind of fellowship. Certainly, things have shifted as a result of COVID, but still happens outdoors, and people just try to be respectful of the health community's suggestions and guidelines. We go to the next slide. So, got a big vision in a small area, but really want to just build out a beautiful campus. We're acquiring some adjacent property as well. So would like to do some for sale housing to increase the sort of mixed income of the community, but be connected to the same campus, and just adding more things to improve the quality of life there. Some near-term things are edible landscapes. So we have throughout the community, we've planted herbs and berry bushes and all sorts of things, but want to increase that. And we're doing some walking trails. So just over time, we're just kind of gradually building out more amenities in the space. So that's it. It's Glenrose Gardens.
Awesome. Next, we'll hand it over to Will Johnston.
Hey everyone, and Trees Atlanta, thank you so much. Dana, thank you so much for having us tonight. Hey everyone, I'm Will Johnston, the Executive Director of the MicroLife Institute. And you might have heard of us. We used to be Tiny House Atlanta. We started off focusing on tiny house wheel-based models, but realized we need to incorporate so much more types of housing to create that walkable density that so many people are looking for to create that neighborhood. We really believe in building community through the built environment. Really to what Ihsan spoke to and what Ted was speaking to, how do we build community through food, through our homes and connectivity, and how it all relates. So I'm just going to give you a quick little look through who we are, as well as what we've been up to with our Cottages on Vaughn project. Like I said, we are the MicroLife Institute. This is just a little bit of examples of some of the structures that we talk about. So we're really about space utilization. We really want people to think through their space and what is just outside of their space, what they interact with, what's their yard look like? Are they grown? Do they have a garden? How are they interacting with their neighbors? Really looking at how you can really utilize space in a smaller footprint. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to live in a tiny house, but we really need to right size America. We really need to say, okay, those singles and couples really need to look, we need to be building better products. And I hate calling homes products, but we need to be more innovative in our housing products to allow for a diverse range of options. So this is who we are. This is some of the stuff we get into, just like Trees Atlanta, that they do amazing educational programming, so do we. So along with our pilot project, the Cottages on Vaughn, we just had an amazing innovative housing summit, as well as we do Atlanta micro home tours. We do a workforce housing roadshow which educates city on how they could change policy to add in those housing options. You might have attended our Tiny House Festival, and we are very proud to partner with our good and dear friend Ross Chapin to bring you Developing Pocket Neighborhoods work courses to teach people who are interested in building pocket neighborhoods across the nation. So one of the things that people ask, well, what is micro housing? To us, we think the micro built environment is 1,000 square feet or smaller. So I know micro, tiny, but again, we're making up our own words, not really making up, but this is how we address different spaces. And we think the 1,000 square foot or smaller is really the sweet spot that a lot of people need to look at and be able to and see if it's a possibility for you to try out, because everyone's probably lived in that apartment or that space that might not be the best designed, but it's under 1,000 square feet. It might be close to the things you want to do, walkable, be able to interact and be close to your family and friends. So like I said earlier, we love the idea of building community through the built environment. We want to look at not just the design of the homes and utilizing every inch, but how the homes interact with each other, whether it is an accessory dwelling unit, that backyard cottage, or if it's a pocket neighborhood like our Cottage on Vaughn project, where houses are still around a common area, but you still have a sense of privacy, but still are freely able to interact with your neighbor. So obviously, like the big main buckets of what we do, we really are advocacy for housing options. So we want to make sure policy has been updated, changed, or varied to allow for more different types of structures, not just single family homes or attached condos, mid-rise or high rises. We need to be so much more innovative and creative and work together with all our different departments to come up with better housing options for so many different types of people and scenarios, because it's not just the nuclear family anymore. We are a diverse group of people, whether it's in Atlanta or the nation. We need more housing options and we need more walkability. 60% of Americans want walkability, but only 5 to 10% of America is built to be walkable. Obviously, a big thing, just like that we're kind of talking about, is the environment. So how can we build smaller in a smaller footprint so we can give back and we can make sure we don't touch the trees, and we can have those community gardens that give us the ability to grow our own food. Having a smaller space gives you more time, less maintenance to clean, less time to pick up, and it's a win-win for so many people that when people talk about maintenance. Obviously, also another benefit, money, smaller footprint, don't have to heat and cool as much. So obviously the biggest point I wanted to talk about that we're so excited to be partnering with Roots Down, Georgia in this project. So this is our Cottages on Vaughn project in Clarkston, Georgia. So it is 8 houses on a ½ acre. You can see the layout on the top left of your screen. I am putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm actually buying into this neighborhood. We actually have a great time. The neighbors that have already bought these houses, we have a Zoom call like every 2 weeks, and we are already bonding over, the fact that we're going to have chickens on property. So we're so excited that we're partnered with Jamie, because even though we have thought through these houses and they are only 500 square feet, the smallest house is 200 square feet. That is just unit 8. The rest of the 7 are 492, all with lofts. So there is some storage space, but the main house is 492 square feet, and then unit 8 is 250. This is considered a pocket neighborhood or a cottage court, if you will. And the idea is being centered around a common green, having a large enough usable porch that you can add that as another space of your house to be able to connect with friends across the common area, or just use as your own space, use as another space. It's just being outdoors. Obviously, some of the things that you see in this is that there is a common green and the paths, but then what we are doing working with Roots Down, it's not just the houses and the connectivity of the built environment, but it's our landscaping. So I'm not going to give away too much, but I'm really excited to be partnering with Jamie and Roots Down and all of his great work and all their great work, because again, the renderings don't show exactly how things are going to look. We are on a little bit more of a hill of the project, and don't worry, we will be having a lot more, basically all of 2001 or 2021, not 2001. Wow, that was a time lapse. 2021, we're going to be doing so much educational programming and tours, obviously being in alignment with being safe during COVID times, but we want to be transparent and educate cities, government, realtors, developers, anyone who wants to learn how to do what we did. This has been a labor of love. It's taken a little bit longer than just a normal development project because it's not new, but it's new to people. So change can be very scary to people. And to be able to suggest we do 8 houses all under 500 square feet on a ½ acre freaks some people out. I'd also like to point out that the greenhouse on the left is my house, and I'm very excited about it. This is our 250 square foot house. We're very excited for that to be built, again, just to show space and how people can live together on a small footprint. This is just our schematics of where everything is. We did put water management system in, as well as really thinking through how we are going to move throughout the entire development. Like I said, we are very excited to work with Roots Down because we do want a number of things to be able to be eaten on campus. The idea of my house having a certain type of herb or fruit tree that I know my neighbors can come and utilize. So it creates community by saying, oh, I'm going to go knock on Will's door and say hello, and I'm going to pick a couple apples while I'm over there. So again, this is us. I know Kim had to pop off, but this is us, and this is our tiny office that we built with the city of Atlanta. You might have seen it on the Beltline. It's another initiative that we'll be actually driving around Georgia and again doing our workforce roadshow with education around cities. So that is my little intro into our project and the Cottages on Vaughn and the MicroLife Institute. If you want to learn more, we're just microlifeinstitute.org. And I know I'm going to throw it over to Jamie. So Jamie, let me know if you want to stop share. Otherwise, I can just keep clicking through to the next slide.
Yeah, click through the slides, Will. Thank you so much. I appreciate the intro. So yeah, I'm Jamie. I am the founder and CEO of Roots Down. And yeah, we are excited to partner with the MicroLife Institute and the Cottages on Vaughn project as well. It's so much more than just building the landscape. And that's kind of, what we actually want to work with them on doing is creating community around the landscape. And I think that, like there's two places you can live, the indoors and the outdoors. And even here, I live in the city of Decatur, and I spend a ton of time outdoors with my friends. So what we want to do is foster a really great relationship with people outside, how to actually involve really great native ecology, butterfly gardens, foodscapes, and how to actually inspire the community to get involved. So we're there as their community partner. We're going to be partnering with other landscaping companies as well, and pulling them in to kind of train them on how to actually install these community productive urban landscapes. So we're really excited about partnering with Will. And I want to say shout out to, thank you so much for Trees Atlanta, and thank you, Dana. We've done a few of these panels, and I think we'll do a couple more for the end of the year. So I really appreciate it. So yeah, so you can go ahead and move to the next slide. Will, thanks. So what is a productive urban landscape? Yes, it's a little bit of jargon, but I think I want to give you guys a better explainer of what that is. So productive urban landscape is a landscape that actually has a lot more output to input ratio, right? It's a landscape that would not be identified as grass. So when Will and I looked, we looked at the landscaping plans and we looked at how, things are laid out. We're like, you know what, if we could fit as much as we possibly can in this landscape that can be productive, that can add value. It doesn't have to add value as far as food is concerned. I think there's a balance. There's an ecological balance there that we want to be able to create. So productive urban landscape basically is a landscape that is not high input, which is a typical mow and blow landscape. And you see those at so many apartment complexes. You see those in your community at home. So these are landscapes that benefit native ecology, that bring in butterflies, that bring some food to the table. I like to see more of an integrated process. I think a lot of farm gardens are like, okay, you know what? We're going to put a farm over here, or we're going to put some raised bed boxes over here. And then we're going to do our orchard over here. Oh, and then we're going to do our grassy area over here. I'd rather see what the productive urban landscape model is a model that actually integrates and doesn't segregate. And I think that's really, really important for understanding what a productive urban landscape is. And it's going to be our job to be able to work with the MicroLife Institute and other developments and work to kind of showcase what these landscapes feel like, taste like, and look like. So yeah. So we tend to look at the triple bottom line when we look at the benefits of productive urban landscapes, right? We want to focus on these three pillars: the environmental, the economic, and the social. And I think those three pillars are really, really important. And I think that if every organization or everything focused on these three pillars, I think that we would have a much better world to live in. We focus on the environment because we are looking at environmental issues that are really important, right? Like soil, carbon sequestration. And I know Ted and I have talked a lot about this. I think there's a benefit there, right? We should be talking to municipalities, communities, and local governments on the ways that productive urban landscapes can benefit the environment. We don't sequester a lot of carbon through grassy landscapes. So I think that's really important to think about, is if we were creating landscapes that have this really great value add to them, that they're going to have a great environmental value add. So the economic pillar that we're talking about is creating jobs. So I think creating these new green jobs in green infrastructure and green landscaping that has so much growth and so much potential. And I think that we could build landscaping. I've worked in urban ag for years, and I've been a farmer, and I'm telling you, farming doesn't make enough cash. It doesn't make enough money for that farmer to live an equitable lifestyle. So we want to build these new green collar jobs. And I'll be, working really closely with Commissioner Terry, and working with Will and Kim on what do these jobs look like, and what does it look like to actually make a living wage and produce food and produce ecology for your community. And then, of course, the social aspect, bringing people outside, bringing people together, and creating, one of the things we'll be working on that I'm excited about is working on how do we actually incorporate youth in these programs. It's not just your boring farm to table, like initiative where we create a tasting where they taste a vegetable of the year or of the month. We want to create programs that enact social change. And I think that we could do that by building youth programs where we incorporate environmental activism to teach the kids how to steward these landscapes in the future. And actually think about them. I want to think about my daughter in this world, and think about the way that when Sophia grows up, that she could say, you know what, I could see myself being a green collar job worker. I could see myself being a landscaper, because it'll have a different depiction to it. It won't be a mow and blow or a spraying type of thing. It'll be something that they can serve the community to do. So we started this really awesome campaign. It is what it is, right? It's grow, don't mow. I think we spend a lot of money. I think everybody here probably has been guilty of spending money and or time on mowing grass. So I think that we target enemy number one. We talk a lot about grass culture, and instead of agriculture, we talk a lot about how we spend a lot of time, resources, and money on mowing grass and grassy landscapes. And that if we were actually putting that money and that time back into our landscapes to create these value rich products for communities, I think we could do that. And we do that through this messaging called Grow Don't Mow. It's fun, creative, and it's kind of our mantra to say, you know what, are you growing a lot of grass? Well, you know what, you can actually be growing a lot of really great produce or really great ecology. And it's our message to use. So we use that. Here's just some of the fine looking, awesome people that have, joined our network and have actually done a lot of stuff with us that we're excited about. We're selling these t-shirts online. So if you want to get involved in our Grow Don't Mow and you want to turn your grassy landscape into something productive, we can help through our landscape advocate programs. We can help bring people out to your yard, or if you're looking at a community project, we can actually come out there and do that. And we're happy to sell you a t-shirt. If you want a t-shirt, Grow Don't Mow. It's on the website. Next slide. That's it. Well, there I am. I thought I had one more slide. I want to say thank you so much, again, to Dana for putting this all together. I want to say that growing food and community is something that I've spent the better part of 12 years of my life doing. I believe that we have this innate ability to connect community through food. I think it is how agriculture even became a thing, right? We had a connection to certain plants. We made that connection to plants. We, manipulated these plants to create a yield for us. And I think that's really an interesting story. And I think that people can connect through food as being the postcard to create better ecology. And I think those two can live hand in hand. So I want to carry that torch. And I look forward to having discussion with you guys. So let's do it.
That's awesome. You actually kind of segue into the first part of what I wanted to ask you guys about. If you all could really talk about how you actually define community, because we can look at community in different ways. It could be like interest, it could be actual place or location. How do each of you define community, and what is the actual intersection with food um, with your organizations and causes?
I guess I'll start. If you guys don't mind. I think community should mean biodiversity. I think diverse community can breed so much wonderful regeneration. And I think that we need to regenerate our communities through diversity, the same as we do. And we just had this conversation, Dana, and it really sparked me, like talking about, like eradicating invasive species, like not using that language. Like we talk more about like creating more diversity and healthy diversity. I think that to me, that's what community means. I think community means participating in the common idea that we want a better planet and a better world to live in. And, I think that, again, like I said before, I think the postcard to that is creating foodscapes that can connect people to, like, I think there's a ding that goes off that I see when kids pass a landscape, like, oh my God, I didn't know I can eat that. And they're finally eating that, and then they're snacking on it all the time. I think there's this really great connection there that I'd like to foster and bring to Roots Down.
To piggyback on your definition of community, we also need a diversity of housing options, because I really like the motto, and I think it takes a village. So we need elders, we need children, we need couples, we need singles, we need families, we need different races, everyone together, because we need to learn from each other. And so, and if we keep building McMansions and letting single family homes ruin the infrastructure of our cities, then we are not going to be able to build that community, and we're going to have this autonomous certain scale of groups that live together. And we need to actually look, now that COVID has actually let people see what it's like to be home a lot more, I think we're going to see a shift in family. We need to understand what a family means to people, as well as be a little bit more extended than our nuclear family. We're seeing a lot more generational housing come back. So parents are looking to live in backyards or in accessory dwelling units, or live in the same neighborhood as their children and their grandchildren. And also, students right out of college are living up until their 30s with their parents until they're ready to find their own space. But also, why is that bad? We have taught this world to, grow your own wings and fly away. Yet we could still be an amazing unit and still all have different jobs and different ways to work. But then this all does center around food. I love Thanksgiving. The way I show my love is acts of service, and I love to cook. And when I come to people's houses, I bring food. I want to make sure people know love is food. And this speaks to exactly what we are addressing here, because we need to show people that it is tangible in your front yard. It is tangible to we're interacting with your neighbor. And the fact that food can bring us together to spark different conversations and bring us closer, because we are so polarized right now. And I think we need more food in our lives to pull us together to have better conversations.
Yeah, I'd add to that briefly. I think, community is really an ambiguous term. It can obviously mean a lot of different things. The part of it that I like to emphasize is connection, and really having relationship. And being in relationship with the people that you're living around. I've been guilty, and a lot of us have, of not knowing and not really having real relationships with our neighbors, but having communities that are much more geographically dispersed, much more enabled by technology, but really, having meaningful relationships with the people that you're around is something that we're really trying to cultivate at Glenrose, and we do it in a lot of different ways. One of the things is to say, Glenrose has a waving culture. So regardless of who it is, you wave, right, and you greet, and it's amazing just to see how disarming that is, and how it can sort of just create this really just friendly culture amongst the people who are there. But yeah, connection, relationships, I think is just a critical component that so often is missed, especially amongst people in geographical proximity.
Ted, did you want to give a answer to any of that?
Well, I'll be happy to add that, the nerd answer here, but, a lot of these things that we're talking about, local governments have to decide on the land use patterns and the zoning and the building codes and the density and, the water and sewer. I mean, there's just so much that, is on the public. I guess that's why I'm here, because I'm like the public side, right? So this is why, civic participation. And I want to say earlier, I'm so glad that we're doing this panel during an election, because I think all of us are so tired of hearing about the election. It'd be nice to think about, why it is that we want to be more civically engaged, because we want people in office that want to imagine and create the world that we wish to live in. Because at the end of the day, there has to actually be changes, in all of these, local jurisdictions to allow for more food growing, for more interesting housing and abundant housing options, to create those public right-of-ways. The public right-of-way has to be decided by the public, which is the elected officials' job. And so, this is why it's so important that we work together, public, private, nonprofit, the whole community.
I'd like to know, what have you seen as far as gains are concerned when you are intersecting food and the community? So in projects that you've worked on in your own organizations, what have you all seen as a benefit to utilizing food to help build the community element?
I think it breaks down barriers that are there. I think it creates this strength and commonality that we all are human. We all come together around a table to eat. We all want to create food, and yeah, I think it just kind of disarms and takes this barrier down that's there. I think it's like I've said before, it's always been, running my farm. It was always like, for me, going around like with the youth courses that we did and be like, taste this, or, and like creating that, like going into the kitchen with the group of youth and creating a salad and a homemade dressing that they grew themselves from seed, was this aha moment. And I think that it really disarms people, and it makes people kind of, no matter what sector of life they come from, if they're super liberal or super conservative, like I think that they can come together with the fact that, man, that was one hell of a tasty salad, so yeah, I think that's how I see it, if I answered that correctly.
It also we need to change the narrative. People see, again, stigmas are rampant through our cultures. And so, we have our HOAs that say we need pristine, clean cut lines, yards that look like, golf courses. So we need to show, just like Jamie said, we need to, and that's the aha moment. It can be bountiful, it can be beautiful, and it can be designed well. So I think it's breaking down the barriers of how we do it and how it is implemented and incorporated in neighborhoods, communities. I mean, the whole thing of, urban agriculture, like I walk around my neighborhood, I'm in Edgewood, and I pick rosemary from people's, it's kind of overhanging it's like, oh, I'm going to use this as a stew for later. Or like I see a persimmon tree and they have a nice little sign that says not ripe, don't pick yet. And so it is amazing. Like, I see it happening, but we need more of it. And we need to show that it's okay to start venturing into it, and let it be a part of your everyday yard.
Yeah, we live in this scarcity mindset, right? And like like this just weird scarcity thing where like there's no where we think there's no abundance. There's an abundance. Like we, you know, shifting that narrative is big. Anyway.
For Glenrose, how are your Sunday dinners transformative in your community there?
They're farm to table, so it's definitely great to give people perhaps their first opportunity of eating the food that they're growing. The Sunday dinner was something initially that, as the management, we sponsored and sort of made sure that it took place. We had staff kind of coordinated, and then within a year, it just organically became something that the community, just residents, fully adopted, and it's by far our most consistent activity. And it just speaks to the power of food. Like, Jamie just mentioned, Will just mentioned, it's just something so easy and neutral, somewhat objective, that people can really rally behind. It's just like, this is really good food. It's delicious. Even if you're not, feeling like socializing, we're posting pictures of the meals on the community WhatsApp group, and, people are getting tantalized to kind of come out and partake and end up interacting and forming relationships. So I think it's been transformational in that it's probably been the most sort of impactful way that people have formed relationships in the community, right? It's the means to which we build connections. And again, connections for me are sort of the most critical part of what it means to be a community. So I think it's been the most kind of high channel way for people to really form relationships.
Awesome, thank you. So I have some questions that popped up in the Q&A section. So Sam, this is actually for you. Glenrose Gardens, the apartments, single family homes, mix, or both?
Yeah, they're entirely townhomes, rental townhomes. Yeah. So and again, initially the community was actually a cooperative, and it ended up just facing a lot of challenges, and filed for bankruptcy. And through some years, we actually worked with the board of directors of that cooperative, actually acquired it out of bankruptcy, and have been doing this turnaround story. So it's a rental community. Again, the goal, we're acquiring some adjacent land. The goal is to sort of build some single family detached for sale homes to attract a different type of demographic, which we think is really important, in terms of having them sort of mixed income. But yeah, Glenrose itself presently is a rental townhome community.
So a general question, how someone would like to hear more about how organizations like Rootstown and Trees Atlanta can address food deserts and bring healthy food to people who do not have access to grocery stores. I guess I can answer that, at least for Trees Atlanta. Right now, if you're in the Browns Mill area, there is the urban food forest at Browns Mill, and it is the largest food forest really in the country. And so there is a community garden there. There is an orchard there. It's not owned by Trees Atlanta, but we are contracted to help keep that space in a nice and presentable way right now. So that is an area that you can be involved in, helping to curate as someone in the public, to connect with nature, also to learn about gardening. We have 2 food forest stewards that are out there that help with education, and they're there with community members who are very actively involved in that food forest. So that is one way. Additionally, with Trees Atlanta, in some spaces we have planted nut-bearing, fruit-bearing trees. So there are some spaces on the Beltline that have some plums and persimmons and pawpaws. So, but those get harvested very quickly once they actually ripen up. So that's another area that we've worked in. So I guess, Jamie, do you want to have any other answers for that?
Yeah, I certainly do. Thank you, Dana. I think it's interesting. Like, I just worked with my community. I live here in the Decatur Heights community, and we've got a triangle project right here in my neighborhood. And it's just a triangle that everyone passes by. Everyone here in the neighborhood walks by. And so we had 5 fellows that we just graduated, and for their capstone project, we're like, let's turn this space into more of a community space. Now it has already got a library. It's already got some benches, you know? So we put in some really great composted soil. We raised the beds up. We stuck some veggies, and I was hearing comments from my neighbors, and they all participated, and it was an amazing project. You guys can actually check out. We just shot a video of it and posted it on Instagram of that community project. But it was an aha moment. Like, some of the kids were like, "You could grow this right here." Like, I didn't know that. So I think, like, the opportunity for growing food and smashing the idea of food scarcity could actually exist in every pocket, in every neighborhood, and in every front yard. I think that the opportunity is limitless. I really do. So I think that Roots Down, we want to focus on building and strengthening communities around those ideas, and also, you know, to talk to Ted and I's project in Clarkston. You know, the Refuge Coffee Streetscapes project was going to be just grass, and now there's 7. We, you know, worked with Shades of Green, and they installed, now there's like 7 olive trees, 5 loquat trees, all kinds of edible sorrel, and all kinds of great stuff out there. So I think that every street corner could have just a little bit more life to it. So yeah, I think that we could just think outside the box. I say that, and I mean it, like outside of the raised bed box as well. So that was kind of meant.
I think you have an excellent point, Jamie, of just, you know, let's redefine the narrative of what a neighborhood looks like, a home can be, and Trees Atlanta, Roots Down, like in all of our work is showing, like, you know, I love the idea of Ihsan, like your programming, like people need support. We need to come together. We can't just keep doing this by ourselves, and we need to support each other. We need to educate each other, and we need to inspire others to go on and take on a different narrative of how life can be. And then they go to move to a new neighborhood. And so again, you know, the narrative needs to change on what a yard is. The narrative needs to change of what your block is, and the narrative needs to change of what a city is. And I think we, like you said, Jamie, like there is abundance of, but the way our economy works and who gets what gets in the way of that abundance.
I think it's a lack of creativity
or not wanting to work. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, it took a lot of time and resources to lay sod down, but it happens all the time. You know, I mean, it's just I think it's a lack of creativity of thinking, well, this should be sod, these should be crepe myrtles, this should be, I'm bringing up 2 of Ted's favorite plants. And you know, like, I think it's just, I think that's what Roots Down wants to do, is reshape the narrative and re-educate communities and municipalities on what their landscapes can do for our residents.
We have a question for people with physical disabilities. How would you suggest they get involved in creating community and getting involved also with your organizations?
I think part of the Streetscapes project, or accessibility, if you're talking about accessibility, the triangle project here in our neighborhood is absolutely, it's 2 feet off the curb. It's absolutely ADA, it would be ADA accessible. And then most Streetscapes projects that we designed in Clarkston, they have a sidewalk and they're right there off the parking lot. So I think that these projects are definitely a lot easier to get involved with as far as anybody with disabilities are concerned, rather than something where they have to go into a wet holler to go to like a farm or something and go way down deep into pass over wood chip piles and tractors and all that kind of stuff to access access food and gardens. So I think these gardens, definitely the ones that I'm trying to spearhead in our communities, are definitely way more accessible than not.
Okay. I have another question from the crowd. Have you all heard of the edible landscape, the Chosewood Park in South Atlanta? Have you guys been involved in that particular project? We have not as Trees Atlanta.
I
You
just
work-
submitted a proposal to Clay and Paul last week. So hopefully if they're listening, if they're here, then let's push it through and activate your community. They have planted lots of fruit trees and done a lot of stuff, but I actually just submitted a proposal to them last week and hoping that goes through because it's gonna be an awesome program. So yeah.
Then I have a question. How can the audience connect with each of you all? They'd like to know contact information or the best way to connect so that they can get involved and contribute.
That's easy. My email is will@microlifeinstitute.org, or you can go to microlifeinstitute.org itself. All of our contact stuff is there. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and yeah, please reach out.
I'm at Ihsan at glenrosegardens.com, glenrosegardens.com on Facebook and Instagram as well. So yeah, as well, reach out.
Ted, you gotta bounce.
Yeah, please reach out to me about anything in DeKalb, and I look forward to the partnership we've got going forward. I'm sorry to leave a little bit early, but it's great seeing everyone. Thank y'all.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ted.
so much, Ted.
Yeah, as far as accessibility to get a hold of me, I didn't know, when I first started my business, I put my personal phone number out on everything. Maybe not such a good idea, but it's out there. You can find it. But I'm very accessible. You can reach me, Jamie at rootsdownga.com. Yeah, we'll definitely reach out to you. It'll either be me or Rebecca Snegg that gets a hold of you. She does operations. Shout out to Rebecca if she's listening. So we're really accessible, down to earth kind of people. Don't hesitate to ask questions, and especially after this is over, email me. I can answer anything for you.
Awesome. So I actually have a comment. It's not really a question, but it says, just want to thank you for this virtual speaking engagement. I'm a senior in high school and plan to go into agriculture and bring agriculture to the city life. Today, I realize I have a community of people that have the same thinking, and I'm not alone in wanting to build a community through food. Thanks so much.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. What was this participant's name?
Awesome.
This is Rihanna. She was actually one of our youth tree team members this past summer and the summer before that. So excited to see you there, Rihanna.
Great. She just graduated high school?
Going to your senior year, but senior year.
I'm curious where she's going to go to school for agriculture.
Say, Rihanna, do you want to type that in the chat for us where you're thinking about going to school?
No pressure. No, I'm just curious.
No pressure. Let's see if that comes up. Not sure yet. So
Yeah.
if you have any suggestions, that would be a great place.
I think that UGA definitely is innovating. I think they're innovating as far as like agriculture is concerned. I think there's a lot more. I want to see peri-urban and rural areas do a lot more regenerative agriculture. I think if she wants to watch a film that I just watched that blew my mind, Kiss the Ground, was amazing. And it talks a lot about regenerative ag. I think that those solutions are great, and you could definitely serve your community by working outside of the urban environment. But if you're working in the urban environment, I think there's not a whole, that's kind of where Roots Down's niche is. It's kind of like, there's not a whole lot there. And I'm hoping that landscaping one day looks like agriculture. And I'm hoping that public works one day looks like agriculture in a way, has those elements to it. But I think UGA definitely is innovative. They definitely have some innovative stuff. I know that Kennesaw State, I know one of the professors at Kennesaw State University, and he teaches ag sciences and stuff like that over there. His name's Michael Blackwell. He was my mentor. So I think that those are good options.
Okay. Oh, I think I just got one more. Could you say the name of the film you just talked about again, Jamie?
Oh, it's Kiss the Ground. I'm doing a plug. Maybe I should get Netflix to give me some money on it. Kiss the Ground on Netflix. Woody Harrelson is the narrator, and it was really inspiring for talking about regenerative agriculture and soil carbon sequestration, all about how soil can regenerate life and bring life back to the planet as being a solution for climate change. Pretty mind-blowing.
Doesn't look like we have any more questions, and we're actually right at 8 o'clock. So I want to thank all of our panelists. Thank you all for giving your time tonight, especially you, Ihsan, because you are several time zones away from us right now. So we really appreciate you. We also appreciate all of you attendees for watching this evening. This has been recorded, so we will send this back out to you, and that way you can watch it again in case you missed something. Otherwise, thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a great evening, and check out our website for more events just like this. Have a great night, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a good night. Thanks,
Bye.
Dana.
Ciao.